In today's video, we are looking at my top 10 fresh pantry staples. What I like to keep in my pantry every day, every week, to be able to cook the wartime meals that I cook on a regular basis. So if you're interested in that, do stay tuned for today's video. So today we are talking about our 10 fresh pantry staples as part of my pantry series. I'm calling it my Never Ending Pantry series, and it is going to run into June. Today we are looking at fresh goods. Last week in last week's video, I'll pop in the description bar below for you. We looked at my top 10 pantry staples for cooking wartime recipes, and they're just my basic staples of what I like to have in all the time in my pantry to be able to cook a meal. So if you're interested in that, do have a look at that video. It'll be on a card at the end of the video, up here on the screen or down below in the description bar. So if you're interested in following along with this series, do click the bell at the side of the subscribe button, and that'll keep you up to date when I upload new videos. The pantry video is going to be coming up every Wednesday. So if you're interested in that, that's going to be on a Wednesday. And on a Sunday, we're going to be carrying on with the Victory Garden vlog. So welcome back to Wildwood Cottage and welcome back to Wales. It's lovely to have you here. I hope you're all doing well and I hope you're all having a good week. I hope you're all enjoying my pantry series so far and that you're getting a lot of benefit out of it, because I'm certainly enjoying putting it together for you. So let's get stuck in. Top 10 fresh pantry staples. I am going to be looking down at my notes because I don't want to forget anything. I forgot a few things last week, so I've written some notes this week and I don't want to forget anything. So today we are starting with eggs. I have hens, so I keep fresh eggs. These are off my chickens. These are what I've had over the weekend. I just keep them in a little wire basket like this. And yeah, eggs, they are fantastic. During the war, you were entitled to one egg a week per person if they were available. Otherwise, you were given powdered egg in a tin, and you were given that once a month. And I think that made up, quote me if I'm wrong, but 24 eggs, which is 2 dozen eggs. And each person was allocated with the dried powdered egg. So if you had eggs, you could make a really nice meal. Last night I made a potato and egg. It was like an omelette. And it was called an Irish omelette out of my We'll Eat Again cookbook. And it was really tasty. It was lovely. It was basically just leek, mushrooms, potato. You added some seasoning like some parsley. I put fresh parsley in out of polytunnel, and that's what we had for our tea. And you know, it was a really nice, simple meal. Keep eggs in stock. They're a very good thing to have in. You can use just the egg yolks, just the egg whites. You can make mayonnaise with them. You can make salad dressings with them. You can give them to the eggshells to your pets. You can have the eggshells sprinkled on your muesli to have the extra calcium boost. So there's so many things you can do with eggs. So that's my first one, eggs. My second one is going to be cheese. Then I'm going to put these together as a dairy, okay? So you're going to have cheese, butter, and I like to have cream because I like to make my own butter. I don't trust shop bought butter with my allergy. But my mother-in-law gave me this block of butter, so that's why I have it. But I always buy cheese, because cheese you can put on anything. So you don't need a lot of it. A little goes a long way. If you're making a white cheese sauce, you only need about an ounce of cheese to flavour the milk, to flavour the sauce. And as long as you add some good seasonings to it as well, then you can make a nice cheese sauce to go on anything really. So I always have cheese in. I buy the big blocks of cheese, and we have a ration portion every week, and that's all we use. Sometimes we don't even use the ration portion. We find that that is enough. And yeah, we have that because you are entitled to 2 ounces of cheese if you're a meat eater, 4 ounces to 6 ounces of cheese if you're a vegetarian or a vegan. Now, I find that that is plenty, because for the two of us, that's 6 ounces of cheese between the two of us, which is 150 grams of cheese a week. Sometimes up to 200 grams a week. It depended on the availability of it during the war. So yeah, Cheese, definitely worth having in. I also have double cream in because this is what I make my butter from. Now I have got a recipe on my channel for you. I'll pop it in the I button here for you. Um, but yeah, make your own butter. All you need is a carton of double cream. This one cost me £3 in the supermarket. I buy it in the co-op. It's the only one that agrees with my allergy. So it's definitely worth making your own because you also get the buttermilk as a byproduct, which you could water down and make into milk. Um, but also you can use the buttermilk for your baking as well. So always have cream if you can get it. Yes, I know it was in very short supply during the war, but due to my allergy, I can't have ordinary butter off the shelf. I have to make my own because I have an anaphylactic reaction to rapeseed, and that comes through the food chain. So that is why I buy cream. So yes, I do know that cream was in short supply, but that is my reason for having the cream. And we're not in a wartime situation right now. So if you want to get cream, make your own butter, use the buttermilk in your recipes, drink the buttermilk because it's highly nutritious and really good for your gut. Anyway, moving on. The next thing I would say is cabbage. Now, I always have red and white cabbage in stock because red cabbage is great for making sauerkraut. And if you've always got salt in your cupboard, you can always make sauerkraut. Now, it makes a lovely pink sauerkraut. I know sauerkraut normally comes from white cabbage, but I like to use that in my recipes because it doesn't bleed the same way as the red cabbage does. If you don't mind that, that's fine. But for things like coleslaw, and chopping up into a pie, I think the white cabbage is a lot better. You could also steam it and serve either of these as a side on the plate to go with your meat and your vegetables, or your vegetarian dish and your vegetables. And a lot of the wartime diet was actually focused upon nutrition. So you were encouraged to have potatoes every day, which I'm going to come to in a minute. But cabbages and things like that, spinach and stuff, was recommended for your calcium. And if you had it with a protein, it was a complete protein then because you had the greens to go with it. So I would highly recommend having cabbage in. You can make salad with it. You could chop it up and pop some salt on it to soften it and make it into a salad to have with a meal. I don't know, a baked potato or something, or a quiche or something like that. So yeah, always have cabbage in. The other one I'm looking forward to sharing is leeks. This is my favourite vegetable, I think, is a leek. I've also got onions here. Where are we? This is the Allium family. These are great for your immune system as a building block food for your immune system to boost your immune system and help fight off allergies and all sorts of things like that. So onions and leek. Leek is my favourite. I love the flavour of leek. I will put leek in everything. Unfortunately, it's a seasonal vegetable, so it's not available all year round. But I find that I can use this spring, autumn, winter, and then onions in the summer. You can also use chives as well. There's also wild garlic, which is like a very strong garlicky onion flavour, which you can find in the hedgerows. I got it in my garden here. I found some at the side of the road once, and I went and picked up the bulbs and I popped them in the garden, and I've got it growing in the garden now. So I need to fence it off. So leeks, I love leeks. I use the bottom as the sweet vegetables put in pies and to serve as a side dish on the side of a plate. I'm trying not to put too much on the side of the plate and put it into an actual meal. Not that it's a waste, but I just think you get more benefit out of it if it's cooked for a longer time and all the flavours have all mingled together into a pie. But yeah, you can use the white bits as your sweet kind of dish. And I tend to use the green bits in soups and stews and casseroles. And onions are great because you can have these raw. I use the red ones are sweeter than the white ones. So I always have a selection of both in. It depends on the meal that I'm doing. If I'm doing a casserole, I'll probably use a white one. But if I'm doing something like an omelette or something, I'll probably use a red one. Or in a coleslaw, I'll use a red one. In a salad dish, I'll use a red one. If I'm making onion gravy, I'll probably use the red one for that because they are sweeter. They do add a different flavour than the white ones. So onions and leeks are definite in the pantry. Definitely, definitely in the pantry. That's the thing I like about the wartime recipes, I think, is that you do get a good variety of vegetables and foods, and it's very healthy and very, very good for you. The next one is turnips. I have this one, it's a Swede. I would also put celeriac in this section as well. Now, celeriac is more of a winter vegetable, as is the Swede, it's a winter vegetable. But turnips are summer vegetables. You've got the purple top Milan, you've got the white snowball, you've got the golden globe as well. And they're ones that you can grow quickly in your own garden. But these ones are winter vegetables. Now, Swede is a great substitute for mashed potato. If you've got a mashed potato recipe and you've only got a Swede and you haven't got potato, use the Swede instead, or use it to bulk out your potatoes if you've only got a few potatoes. And the Swede will add a nice sweet flavour as well. So yeah, there's many ways in which you can use a Swede. It's good in stews, it's good mashed, as I've said. It's just a good all-round vegetable. I've even added it to stir fries, and I've also added it to egg fried rice as well. So it's a good one to have in. What people did during the war was when they made something, if they scraped the skin off, they would have had a pan on the side with water in it, and they would have kept stocking up that pan. And then when the pan was full, you made your stock, and then you would have made a soup or a stew or a casserole, or you would have drank it or put it in gravy. It was just a really good way of not wasting anything and getting the extra nutrition. So don't waste your skins on the turnips and the Swedes. The next one is cauliflower. I love cauliflower. I'm able to digest cauliflower better than I am broccoli. So I want to put cauliflower and broccoli together. I always have cauliflower, and this one was £1.09 the other day when I went shopping. I was very impressed. It's a really good head of cauliflower. Now, again, this will last 2 or 3 weeks in the fridge. So I buy one and it'll last me 2 weeks. Now, one of my favourite recipes, well, actually, two of my favourite recipes at the moment are potato and cauliflower bake, like a cauliflower cheese, and macaroni and cauliflower cheese. I love both of those dishes. I usually use a white onion so that the colour doesn't bleed into the dish. And yeah, I use a white onion. I use a bit of leek as well. I'll use some cream or milk, a bit of cheese, a bit of pepper, a bit of salt, some herbs like parsley or something. Mix that up in the pan, pour it over the top, put it in the oven, half an hour, bit of cheese on the top, 5 minutes before it's finished cooking, and then you've got yourself a nice nutritious meal. Then you could serve it with your cabbage and steam some cabbage and pop that on the side of the plate as well. It's also good for casseroles, for stir fries, for curries. It's really nice on its own just to eat by itself. And you're going to get a good nutritious meal. Again, don't waste the outer leaves. Bung them in a stock pot and make your stock with them. I also sometimes give them to the chickens. I'll also add them to a smoothie. Don't waste any part of your vegetable. You've paid for it, you might as well use it. Always say that. Right, the next one is beets and beetroot. Now you can eat the leaves on a beetroot. I haven't got any at the moment because they're too expensive to buy. They're £1.90 for 3 at the moment, and I refuse to spend that. But it's always good to have beetroot in. I always have some in a jar, and then if we do fancy a bit of beetroot, I can take it out the jar, wash it off, and chop it up and warm it up in the oven. So it's always good to have it in a jar if you haven't got it fresh, and then you can add it to a casserole and a stew and things like that again. You could also make a pickle with the beetroot as well by adding a bit of vinegar, some mustard seeds, some pickling spice, and just mix it all together. Leave it to stand on the side for a little while, and then you can have that with a salad. It's really nice, really, really nice, and a good boost of energy. So you can also eat the greens. You can eat them roasted, boiled, pickled, steamed. You can have them with the skin on. You can take the skin off. You can cook them with the skin on, then take the skin off. But I prefer just to eat the whole thing, to be honest with you, especially if it's been grown in the garden. But yeah, you can eat the leaves as well and steam them down like you steam spinach and add that to a stir fry as well. So you're not wasting anything. The other thing, I love this as well. I love this vegetable. It is one of my favourites. It is the parsnip, the humble parsnip. Now, sadly, it is a seasonal vegetable and it's not available all the time. So I always try to keep in the summer and winter months carrots and parsnips. And then when parsnips aren't available, I then move over to carrots and have them in instead. So always have carrots and parsnips in the cupboard. I'm making parsnip pie for tea tonight, which is a really nice pie. It's parsnips with a bit of leek, with a bit of onion, some herbs and some spices and some white sauce. And then you pop that into a pie dish with a pastry on top, and you've got a lovely parsnip pie. It's one of my favourite pies at the moment. Parsnips, I love them. I love them grated in a dish. I love them sliced in a dish. I love them roasted in the oven. I love them done like chips and serve them instead of chips, instead of potato chips. Chips, fries done in the oven to have with your fish or whatever. I just love having parsnips in. I love the flavour. I love the taste. I love the fact you can cook them in cheese. You can cook them with butter. You can cook them in oil. You can cook them with water. You don't have to have loads of ingredients to go with them because they have so much flavour by themselves. You don't need a lot of flavour. So I would recommend having parsnips in. I always have a selection in. At the moment, they're kind of going over and going out of season now. The British ones are disappearing from the supermarket. So probably these are the last parsnips that I'll have. So I might make a couple of pies and pop them in the oven. And then we'll be moving over to carrots. Now, carrots, I'm going to try making that recipe I mentioned a while ago. And I'm going to make it available as a recipe card, and that's a downloadable recipe card. And once a month, I'm going to do a printable version of one of the recipes that I do on my channel for you to keep. And you can start your own recipe collection from the recipes I do here on this channel. So if you're interested in that, do join the memberships and you will get a free recipe card to keep and start your own recipe collection. So yeah, do have a look at that. It's clicking the join button next to the subscribe and you'll find what I'm going to be offering as the perks for my membership. So yeah, getting back to the carrots, I'm going to be making carrot marmalade. I will show you an overview of the recipe for free on my channel, don't worry. Still going to be plenty of free content for you here. I'm just offering a few extra perks for the paid memberships. Anyway, getting back to this, the next thing we're going to have is greens. I don't have any greens with me to hand at the moment. They're all in the garden. But I would recommend, let me put my glasses back on, chard, kale, spinach, cabbage, like the drumhead, not the drumhead cabbage, the Savoy cabbage, is that the word? The curly thing. The spring greens as well. Um, any kales, I would definitely recommend using them. The tops off the beetroot, like I've already recommended, the tops off your turnips, any tops that come off the vegetables, any green leaves. It's all really good for calcium and for the B vitamins that you need to be able to absorb the calcium. So if you can get a good boost of greens, then that's a really good addition to your diet. I'd highly recommend having greens in. You can steam them. You can use them in stews, casseroles, stir fries. You could add spinach to a pizza. You can add them to wraps as well if you like doing those taco wraps. You could add it to that. Yeah, it's just a really good thing to have because you can eat them raw, you can eat them steamed, you can eat them cooked. There's just so many ways in which you can do them, really. I like to add spinach into a curry, into an omelette. Yeah, just chop them up and add them into an omelette. I prefer to steam the kale myself, but I have had it as a salad and it is a really tasty addition to a salad. You just have that on the side of the plate with your baked potato. You're going to get a really good boost of vitamins. So yeah, that's greens. The last thing I'll say is apples. I always have apples in stock. I always have cooking apples in the freezer. I always have apples in jars. And that way you've always got something you can have to eat. Last week I made something called a cottage pudding, and that had apples in the bottom of a baking tray with the cake mixture on the top. And then when you serve it, the apples flavouring's gone into the mixture and it turns up like an upside down cake. It was really nice, really tasty. I think I'm going to make that again today. But you can eat apples from fresh. You can eat them. How I like to eat them is sliced. with a dash of cinnamon or nutmeg or mixed spice, and have a drizzle of honey over the top. Make sure it's all mixed together nice with all the spices on all the apple pieces, and just sit there and eat that as a snack. And it's a really nice snack. Now, what I would say is, as well, if you eat seasonally, it's going to bring the price down because foods that are in season are often cheaper than foods that are out of season. The last one in my top 10 is potatoes. Now, I always have potatoes in stock, and this week I managed to get some Jersey Royals in Morrison's. Now, these are a premium potato. They're usually about, this bag should have been £4, and I got it for £1.89. So we're going to have this one with our parsnip pie for tea. But you can get, I am going to try planting some as well. So I'm going to plant half a bag because I've got a load of sand out the front, and I think it's worth having a go of growing them myself. So yeah, potatoes. I always buy these big bags, and these are 7.5 kilos for £3.50. I get them in home bargain, and they last me for ages. I go through one bag every 2 weeks, maybe every 3 weeks. So when I go out and do my £50 shop for 2 weeks, I buy a bag of potatoes. It's getting harder to stick to that £50 for 2 weeks, but I am really diligently trying to keep in with that. I have been spending more on my bulk buy stuff on my pantry to stock it up. But I'm still, for our regular food for every 2 weeks, still spending £50. So yeah, I always buy that big bag of potatoes. During the war, potatoes were recommended as a building block food. In this book here, How to Eat Wisely in Wartime section, Spuds and Spam, it says, so much of our food comes from overseas, using valuable shipping space, that care and skill in its choice and preparation is now an urgent and national necessity. Now, I would say that's the same today, to think like that, that food from overseas is a premium, really. It should be treated as a premium because it's cost such a lot now, especially with the Straits of Hormuz, to be able to get our foods through the shipping lanes to get it to us. Even just the fertilizer to come through the Straits of Hormuz is held up. And how is that going to affect the farmers? Because the farmers order it 6 months in advance, 12 months in advance. So once they've had their delivery now, they're just waiting 6, 12 months now to see if that fertilizer will come through. If it doesn't, what's going to happen to to them growing our food? So these are things that we've got to think about when we're looking at our pantry and we're looking at our fresh pantry staples. Where does the food come from? So that then you can look at how you're going to put food on your table. It says to eat wisely in wartime, we should vary our meals as much as possible. There may be a shortage of some of the foods we usually buy, but there will always be others to take their place. To keep fit and well, we should choose something from each of the 4 food groups every day. Recommended to have potatoes every day, at least once a day. So I think that's it for me for today. If you have enjoyed my video, do press that subscribe button and the join button to have a little look at my memberships. And do press the subscribe button and that little bell next to it, and that'll tell you when I upload new videos, so you can keep up to date with the pantry series and the Victory Garden. It'll notify you when I post a new video or a new short or something like that. And the more detailed video for this second part of the top 10 is going to be available on my top tier. And yeah, if you're interested in having a look at the more long format, the more information teaching style videos, then do have a look on that top tier. It's not expensive. And it just means then that you get, if you want the more, you see, not everybody wants the in-depth side of this. They just want a quick run through of the top 10. And I'm finding that a lot of viewers are more interested in skipping through the video. So I've decided that for the long form videos, the more teaching, more information, I'm going to put that into a tier for my memberships. So if that is something that you are interested in, do have a look at my memberships. And as I say, the top tier we'll be getting the more long form videos, the more teaching, more instructional side of my videos. So if you're interested, do have a look at that. Next week, we're going to be having another look at the pantry, and we are moving on to top 10 dried goods for the pantry. And then the one after that is the top 10 baking staples. I think I'm going to do another one of my top 10 condiments as well, because I know I've had suggestions of you forgot vinegar, you forgot salt, you forgot pepper. So I think I'm going to do a more an extra video and do my top 10 condiments and share that with you too. I'm also going to do a bit about how I store things in my pantry as well. So this is probably now going to run on into July, to be honest with you. So I hope you enjoy it. Anyway, I'm going to go. My throat's getting a bit dry. I've been talking for a while. And I will see you on Sunday for the next video. So enjoy the rest of your week. Take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now. Bye bye.